Sandra Ramirez, and today we're going to be looking at math IA tips. So, first things first is choosing a topic. So, it's important to choose a topic that you truly understand, one that will allow you to explore it a lot with math. So, make sure that the topic that you choose is something that you have already gone over or something that you actually know what is going on with it. So at first, when I was doing my math IA, I had started off doing something with calculus and like architecture, and I didn't know much about it, but I found it intriguing. But since I didn't know much about it, it was hard for me to figure out what to do and what I wanted to do and how to collect my data. So, and then I ended up having a hard time trying to choose a topic, but eventually I found one that I knew about and one that related to my life. So then that was when I started to know what to do in my math IA. So it's important to make sure to choose something, also to choose a topic that you actually like and you enjoy. And if the topic is not working out, make sure to change your topic early on. Don't wait until like a month later and say, "Oh, I want to change my topic now," because it might be too late and you might not have time to collect data and actually write a good math IA. And if you're having trouble choosing a topic, you can always look up some ideas for some inspiration. So, for example, you can type in Google, "What are some IB Math IA topics?" And you might find a range of many different topics or like lists of different topics, and you might find one that is interesting to you. So, for the investigation portion, you should in this portion of the math IA, you should be investigating something that you actually want to figure out. So for example, I wanted to find the relationship between obesity rates and the GDP of different states. So I looked at the United States and I looked at each state's obesity rate and their GDP rate. And when you're investigating something, it shouldn't be something that you can easily answer with yes or no. It should be something that that can have a range amount of answers and an answer that you can go into different paths throughout your investigation. And as always, investigate something that you find interesting so that when you're writing your math IA, you show that you're actually involved and you're enjoying this investigation. So for the data part of the math IA, you should look for it early on. Don't wait until your teacher has the data due or until the last minute when you're finalizing your math IA. It should be something because the data isn't something that is easily accessible. Well, at least it wasn't for me. So as I stated before, I used to have one topic that was about calculus and architecture, but I couldn't find any data. I wasted like 1 week trying to find some data and I couldn't, and it was very hard for me. So then that's when I ended up changing my topic, and then I still couldn't find data as fast, but then eventually I found some data. So it's important to start early on because it can get very hard to find the data. And if you can, you should look for your data when you're choosing a topic so that you won't choose a topic and then find data and then see that you can't find data, so then you change your topic. So maybe if you can, try to do both at the same time. And the data portion of the math IA is the most important one, so take it very seriously because the data that you collect is what makes your math portion of the math IA, which is like the data is like the foundation of the math IA. So for the math portion, it'd be better if you use math that it's already in your IB math book so that you can look in your book and use it as a guide. So if you're having trouble, you can look at the sections in the book and figure out what you need to do. And there should be enough math in your paper to show that you are actually involved. I'm not sure how many hours, but it is like 5 to 10 hours. I'm not sure. I may be wrong, but it is a good length of hours that your math IA has to have of math. So it should be like when you're looking over your math IA, you should see, when you look at your paper, you should see that you actually did some math and were involved, because it's something that is very important so that your grader can see that you actually took the math IA seriously. So, for example, in my math IA, to show that, so that I had enough math in my math IA, I found the correlation coefficient, and I also did a chi-squared test for 2 different sets of data. So I had 2 different groups, so then I did each one twice. So that way I had a decent amount of math shown in my paper. And make sure to be specific and double check your work and be clear. So make sure that you don't have any mistakes in your math, because they can take points off for that. And when you're doing your math, state why you did what you did. So for example, state, I did a chi-squared test because blah, 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 blah. And I found the correlation coefficient because blah, blah, blah. Make sure to include that throughout your paper. And for involvement, so for example, I kind of stated this before already. Throughout the whole investigation and your IA, you should be reflecting what you did. So I did this because blah blah blah, and it showed me blah blah blah. And dedicate your time to this paper. Actually sit down a day or two a week, or once a week for maybe an hour or two, and actually work on this paper. Go over your book, look over your book for math, or dive deeper into your topic, etc., etc. Overall, do not stress. Please do not stress, because overwhelming yourself would not help. Because when I was changing my topics and I couldn't find data, I just kept on stressing myself. I would stay late at night trying to find some data, and I would just be literally bawling my eyes out because I couldn't find data. It was really stressful, and it only made things worse. It was until I calmed myself down, took some rest, and woke up the next day when I was able to figure out a topic and find data. So it's important to remain calm and just take deep breaths, because it's okay to change topics. It's okay to find different data. If you're having trouble, make sure to reach out to your teacher and ask them for help, because stressing yourself and overwhelming yourself will not help at all. And in the end, when you're calm, everything will turn out great. Even though I had like 3 different topics and I found 3 different sets of data and none of them helped, I still ended up getting a good grade on my math IA, because I took deep breaths and I calmed down and I just stayed focused at the end, of course. And I wish you the best of luck, and I hope these tips were helpful and you got this. Make sure to believe in yourself and stay strong throughout the whole process of writing the math IA.